Hey everyone, welcome to another video on Chapter 6. Now we'll be talking about some tools to look at when we're managing quality. Okay, so we're really focusing on a couple tools. We're applying those tools. And these tools include some to generate ideas. So we have our scatter and our cause and effect diagram. And finally, we also have a tool that's going to help us organize that data and help us make maybe some decisions or recognize some priorities. So let's talk about generating ideas. Okay, so one example is the scatter diagram, and this is helpful if we're comparing, one variable to another. So here we're comparing productivity to absenteeism. Okay, and ultimately we're trying to see if there's any connection here. So it seems like, based off of the scatter diagram, is that if we look at absenteeism, when there's least amount of absenteeism, we have the highest level of productivity. Okay, and not surprisingly, if there's not a lot of people around and we have really high turnover, or people aren't present, then our productivity is very, very low. Okay, so that's what an example of a scatter diagram helps us realize. Hey, maybe we have an issue here with absenteeism. So that's going to help us understand that. Another really effective tool. This is particularly helpful if you have more than one variable that might lead to a certain effect. This is what we call a cause and effect diagram. It's sometimes referred to as a fishbone diagram, and it kind of looks like a fish bone. That's why we call it that. But as you can see here, not only does it help generate ideas, but you can organize it in a way as well. So we have materials, methods, manpower, machinery. There might be different causes, okay, but we're trying to group them into those components there. And then we have a certain effect. Now, that effect is usually something negative. Okay, so again, we're trying to manage quality. We'll look at a different example in just one moment, but just so you understand what the cause and effect diagram looks like. So let's apply it to an interesting concept. So let's say you're a basketball player and you're missing a lot of free throws. So that is the effect. You're missing free throws. Okay, so here we go. We have missed free throws is our effect. We're going to consider different aspects of the causes. So we have the material itself, the ball. We'll start with that. Okay, so maybe we're missing free throws because the ball itself doesn't feel right. The air pressure might be too high or too low. The size might not be right. Okay, so that could be some causes. Or let's look at the method and how we're shooting the ball. Maybe we're not bending our knees. Our hand positions are off. Maybe we're not following through on the ball. Okay, so those are all some reasons why we might miss free throws. And of course, we also have to reflect on ourselves. Okay, the shooter. Are we trained enough? Are we conditioned enough? Maybe we're getting tired after the last couple free throws, or maybe we're not motivated or inconsistent. Okay, those are all issues we have to think about. We're also part of the cause of this missing free throw situation. And then finally, maybe the equipment itself. So the backboard and the hoop. Is it maybe perhaps misaligned some way? Is the height correct? So those are some causes as well. Okay, so you can just get an idea of how we can use the cause and effect diagram here. And we'll have an opportunity to apply this more hospitality related cases. But you should have an understanding of how we use that cause and effect diagram. So those are two situations and how it can help us generate ideas, understand what is causing the effect. Once we have that information, what we can do actually is take that information and apply it to a way to organize that data. And that example, that specific tool we're going to be looking at is the Pareto Chart. Okay, so again, this is going to help us organize that data, and it helps us also prioritize, the most frequent to the least frequent types of causes. So again, this is just a graph to see what it looks like. We will, of course, apply it a little bit more thoroughly in our labs. But for now, here's an example here where we're going to take all of the hotel complaints we had in the month of October. And we're actually going to apply a Pareto Pareto chart, and recognize that, for instance, we had 54 complaints, challenges with room service. 12 people were complaining about check-ins. Some people complain about the hours of our pool, 3 people mini bar, and then maybe we had some miscellaneous we can't quite categorize. Okay. Now, again, we don't worry about creating it right now, but the idea is it helps us understand that 72% of our problems came from room service, and then we have 16% from check-in. So just start thinking about, if you were a manager and you had to, address one of these problems, which one do you think you would address most immediate, right? So again, start thinking about how this can help us with managing our quality, recognizing as managers that we have to prioritize our time, and this can be very helpful in making sure we're most efficient with what we prioritize. So again, those are just some tools about TQM. We'll definitely spend a little bit more time applying these tools in class, but you should have an understanding of the scatter diagram, the fishbone or cause and effect diagram, and finally the Pareto chart. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you shortly.